Hello, and welcome to In the Court of the Wenton King. And we're reviewing an album once again. Hello and welcome back. Because, yes, and Tom Russell, Hotwalker. This is, in case you're wondering, we've gone mad. This was posted to us. Thanks very much for that. That's very cool. So, the first thing I did, before I'd even listened to it, was look up who the hell Tom Russell is. Again, I should know. We should know who this is. I assume Wikipedia says, although mostly strongly identified with Americana music tradition, his music also incorporates elements of folk, rock, and cowboy music out of the American West. Russell's albums in the 21st century have been heavily influenced by art, culture, and history and folklore of the American Southwest.
Why is that coming to us?
Yeah, so actually, sending us this is a cool idea, actually, because on the one hand, this is like as far as you can get from what we do, what we review, and yet, in the, was the last album we did Isles by Hawaii or Hawaii by Isles?
I think so, yeah. Which
was prog. It was generic prog, and that was the problem. It was prog. It sounds like prog. This isn't that at all. This is, you could argue, the furthest you can get away from it. But actually, this is this interesting creative thing going on. And that's interesting. It's 19 tracks. But, well, it's not 19 songs, is it? This is the thing. From 2005, in the midst of his 2 million albums, this one doesn't have the word cowboy in the title, because some of them do. And actually, it's not really country in terms of what someone who doesn't like country would call country. We wouldn't call this country. I wouldn't say that's country music, because it's good. But think Johnny Cash, but more sophisticated. It's taken very seriously by the aficionados stuff. It's a concept album. It's the second in a trilogy of concept albums about Americana. I don't really know what that is, so that's quite difficult. Jack Kerouac. That's not how you pronounce it. Kerouac, I think, not Kerouac. I do it with a Brummy emphasis in the wrong place. Lenny Bruce is on there. It's that stuff, Beat Generation, hippies, but not the hippies. And the when the good stuff was happening, culture-y something. And he had his sort of correspondence with Charles Bukowski. Put this in context. I don't know who that is. Okay, I didn't know who that is. I don't know
who I thought it was.
Who?
I thought it was the Unabomber. What the hell is this?
Why?
It's not. He's a poet, isn't he?
Yeah. So very much beat poets, American poets, those people, that stuff. Yeah, which is good. And it's a concept album and all that stuff, and a ballad for gone America. So is it nostalgia? A lot of good art does that about. This is what it's meant to be like. This is what it was like. Do you remember? An idealised version of how it's supposed to be. That's emotionally, that's a good place to start, isn't it? But it is about real people. It's about his own experiences and about real people talking about their experiences, what really happened. Not a broader concept of the good old days. Let's go back to the 1950s, if you're an idiot. There is a lot of spoken word stuff. There's actually one point a speeded up, only in it for the money type voice, and that was when it clicked for me. I thought, and I hear it's like the Zappa spoken word bits with the music in the background, kind of, except it's traditional American music. Fairground sounds, terrible marching bands, countrified German folk music, and it takes a few tracks to get to the actual, what I would call country music. Clever. Probably what would have really been folk music in America like 100 or 150 years ago. But this is set obviously in the 50s, 60s, 70s, when that would have been the traditional sounds, but they would have heard those sounds. In 1955, people weren't walking around hearing rock and roll. I mean, most of the music was never going to draw me in, except for the jazz, of course, pretentious. But it isn't even about that, and that's what I like about it. It's one of those things, you know. It's I mean, I like the violin stuff. Makes me think of bluegrass and all that, rather than Shania Twain. It's nothing like Shania Twain. And you know, the storytelling stuff invokes Tom Waits, except it's all true. It's real. They're not characters. They're actually people who are real people. And you know, some of that instrumentation reminds me of Led Zeppelin, and it's what influenced Led Zeppelin, the Led 3 thing. You know, burning ring of fire. Ow, ow, ow.
Yeah, the Bukowski thing. Yeah, you said you didn't know who he was, which is a big shame because you know he's such a big part of this album. If he got like $1 for every time his name was mentioned,
Yeah,
he'd probably have about $300.
yeah.
Out of this, you know, which means it doesn't. I mean, the subject of the album doesn't really have much relevance to us.
not exactly.
No.
Zero. Yeah. But it's educational. It's interesting who this guy is, and because I had no idea. That's interesting.
Yeah. Also, to judge it as we would normally judge an album, you know, we would look at it. You know, are the songs any good?
Yeah.
You know, how's the playing on there? You know, what could they have done different? What is the context in which it was made in? That's all irrelevant to this because you're not judging it based on the quality of the songs.
No.
Because the quality of the songs are all right. You know, they're not.
Yeah,
there's nothing special there, but the it's more about the whole feeling of the album, and it is a sort of you know, as you look back, arc back to bygone age, and the way we tend to romanticize sort of our own history, or when things were always better in the past, sort of thing. I mean, that is all over this sort of thing.
Yeah.
Which is interesting, you know. It's an interesting way of making music, and probably something that it's not something I'd ever considered before, but actually something I am drawn to, sort of thing. I would, you know, listen to this. I thought it made me think, well, I could do something like that. You know.
Yeah, that's the thing.
Yeah.
On the one hand, it's completely alien.
Yeah.
On the other hand, it's questioning what music is.
Yeah. Which is really interesting.
Which is very prog, actually. Yeah.
So prog, I mean, the way I look at it, prog is more about making music in a way that's non-standard.
Yeah.
So it's taking the rules of music and playing
a different thing.
Yeah. This is something else. This is about the art of music. It's sort of like.
But it's not that far from Roger Waters, and it's not that far from Tom Waits as well. It's so.
Yeah, maybe
the art of the album is there. Yeah. It's a concept album.
Yeah, but Tom Waits, he has interesting sounding actual music in there, doesn't he?
Yeah, and he has.
This is all completely straight.
Yeah. Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Which is good, and I'd say it's sort of the kind of thing it reminded me of a little bit is, "Oh Brother, Where Art Thou?" Now I don't know that film sort of. I didn't get that film at first. But actually, after watching it a few times, it did sort of change the way I looked at that sort of Deep South America. I always looked at it with a little bit of disdain, if I'm honest.
Well, we learned about it from Easy Rider, that's why.
Racists and stuff like that.
And Leonard Skinner as well, so it wasn't all bad.
But there is a sort of romance there, the ruggedness of the landscape.
Yeah.
And you put it in the context of an epic story. And there's something very, very, very interesting.
I mean, this is showing us the sophisticated people, the art and the culture of it, that it's not.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's breaking a bad stereotype, which probably means nothing.
Yeah.
Actually, maybe.
I mean, there is one point where they say before the political correctness set in, sort of thing. That got me on my edge, especially when I thought Charles Bukowski was the Unabomber. I thought, someone taking the piss here. I don't know why I thought that. I thought, who was the Unabomber? Kaczynski. Ted Kaczynski, that's it.
Oh, right, okay.
It's not the same at all, is it, really? It's just
Nothing
ends
to do
in
with
ski. Don't know why. Lenny Bruce, very cool. Jack Kerouac is obviously very cool.
Mm.
Apparently. It seems very, don't know what the word is, very now. So, yeah, I mean, it's interesting. It's very, very long.
It is, yeah.
Yeah, that's probably the issue, you sort of...
This is in a trilogy as well, obviously, but if he's telling that kind of story, it's going to be long.
Yeah.
And maybe the art of making that kind of album, the Roger Waters-ness, you can make hours and hours of it, but you've got to distill it down, haven't you?
Yeah, the point is, I can get everything I'm going to need...
From one?
Well, from maybe 5 tracks, say.
Yeah, an EP.
Yeah.
But an aficionado wouldn't. Aficionado would want more, I suppose. So this is like if it's a whole cultural change... We just need we need to dip into it a bit, don't we?
Yeah. So I mean, it is very interesting, but you're gonna. I mean, am I gonna listen? It's not. Like you get a good painting and you put the painting on the wall or whatever, and you keep dipping into it and you keep pulling new things from it. Are you actually going to get that from this? I'm not sure.
I don't know. That's the thing. Am I ever going to listen to that again? I really don't know. And if I did listen to it again, would I get to like track 3 and then put something else on? It's entirely possible.
Yeah, could be. But yeah, very interesting, very different.
Yeah. I think you don't get to stuff that sounds like country to me until Beat Folk, which is track 5. But what a great title. Beat Folk, and what that means, and I hate the song, but it's great. And that's the thing, isn't it? If that was just a song, it's country. But obviously a paean to the Beat generation and etc. Really cool, interesting. I mean, but this is cultural music. This is social music. It really is. Well, cultural music anyway, and we've always, the first thing I wanted to say on these videos, was I want to purge the notion of cultural identification. It doesn't matter where the music is from, it doesn't matter who performed it, just the arrangement of notes and the performance of the notes is all that matters. And that's not nihilistic, because you end up with much richer music, don't you? In terms of the music, and that sounds like pretentious sixth form nonsense, but yeah, there's something genuine in there. I think that's what prog is. But that's the thing. I mean, is prog something I've identified with culturally? As a 15-year-old nerd stuck in the 90s. Where I want to find the polar opposite of the shallow, trendy clothes music of Britpop and grunge and anti-intellectual lad culture, and the nerds were off the radar in the 90s. That's a thing. So really, am I being honest by saying I found prog because I like music? Actually, that's the question, isn't it? But like everything else, it doesn't matter. It doesn't matter how I got there, because prog is still prog. It doesn't have to be particularly European, even necessarily. It's still, I do what I want. That's what prog is. That's it. So, Sam, what does this have to do with Tom Russell?
This album?
No, what I was saying. Because I was writing away. And,
What does it have to do with Tom Russell?
Yes.
Did he... was he thinking the same thing when he was 15 years old?
I don't know. Well, this is all about the cultural experience, not about the notes. There are notes, and they don't matter.
Yeah.
Maybe.
Roger that.
And like you said, the music is necessarily traditional and predictable, sort of.
Yeah.
But the album isn't predictable, and the things they're saying in the talking is interesting, and it makes an album, and it's a concept album. You know, so that's a thing. Yes.
So you're saying that your enjoyment of Prague, or you getting into Prague, was a reflection of the culture that you were in the sense that you didn't identify as a cool kid, you identified as a nerd, and therefore you had to shun everything that was cool and find something that was individual of a higher intellectual caliber, and you found, well, you must have had some kind of disdain for popular music.
Yeah.
Yeah, so the word disdain is there, and you didn't disdain prog, so therefore you thought prog was
better,
was higher.
It's high art,
higher than grunge,
like jazz.
Yeah. Similarly, this is a product of the culture that he was in, or he is in. The notion of pining for an America that never existed.
Yeah, he's making this in 2005.
Yeah.
He even used political correctness. He's even there.
Yeah. But he's sort of saying that he goes on about I can't remember the word he uses now, but he sort of goes on about the crap art, the sort of the cheap American sort of and sort of pining for that almost. When things were simpler and easier before PC had set in, when you could just write trashy novels, I suppose, or comics and stuff like that. Things were better then.
So it's a sort of against a sort of intelligentsia, isn't it?
It's an anti-intelligentsia where you're the opposite.
Yeah.
You were eschewing. You were saying no. I won't listen to that crap.
Yes.
That boring, repetitive nonsense. Hours and hours of it. I will find something better.
Yes.
And I will listen to it. And what's more, I will enjoy it.
Yes.
I'm going to actually enjoy it.
Great. I like it. Yeah. And yet, does that mean anything? I don't know. I don't know if that means anything, because I do like it. Don't I? Yeah. So, I don't like Wigfield. I didn't like it. It's horrible. I didn't enjoy the sound of it, and not want to enjoy the sound of it. I just didn't. It's just horrible, isn't it? It's horrible sounds. Horrible. So yeah, we've not answered the question. I don't even know what we're talking about, really. So yeah, there you go. We've done a video now. That was interesting, wasn't it?
Yeah.
Very, very deep. Yeah, and we have to give that number of eggs.
It's very difficult because on a musical level, it's probably 2-3 egg album. There's nothing.
Yeah, well, it's on a musical level, it's a 2 egg album. As an album, it's much better than that.
Yeah, 4 or 5 maybe, maybe even 5.
So yeah, but it basically doesn't fit into the
egging system.
Yeah, we need a sort of 2-dimensional egging system or something.
Well, if you were to compare it to sort of like maybe the great American novels, let's say we did Fear and Loathing in Las Vegas.
Okay, yeah.
Which there is a search about the American dream in that. It doesn't come close to that. I suppose in that case it'd be like a 4 egg.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah.
Cool. Yeah, 4 eggs. Next week, Queen.
Is it?
Yeah, and it fits, and the batteries run out in the camera. Goodbye.